Hello, Steve White, TREK 89 for Steve White's 89. Well, I just watched the second episode of TREK Prodigy, which is actually episode 3 because the first episode was episode 1 and 2 put together. It's called Starstruck. It takes up right after the last one left off. They basically ask Janeway who she is. She explains that she's a training advisor. She basically is in charge of lower level functions, and she doesn't recognise them as crew, but manages to confuse them for cadets, which, even though they don't know who the Federation is, she explains who the Federation is, which is kind of a nice scene because, you know, it sort of establishes for people who are not familiar with Star Trek what, kind of like our First Contact did with using, them explaining it to Alfred Woodard's character. I've forgotten her name. So she goes over the fact that it's, you know, they seek out universal liberty and equality, and they're about deep space exploration and so forth, and they even quote, you know, to boldly go where no man has gone before, that speech. They refer to her as a hollow nanny, which is a little condescending, but they don't know who she is. So the lead kid who wants to be the captain, he doesn't really want to listen to her, doesn't want to follow any authority, wants to basically learn how to fly the ship themselves so they don't have to go to the Federation, because the other characters are saying, why don't we go to the Federation, they can help us. And he's like, yeah, no, we're fugitives in a stolen ship, and basically I've learnt from life that people don't help you, basically, so we need to take care of ourselves. So they put the daughter of the bad guy in the brig, and they just explore the ship, which doesn't really look like a Federation ship. That's one of the disappointing things. The CGI is beautiful, but the fact that it doesn't have any Star Trek in it at all. Like, the ship doesn't look like a Federation ship. Janeway does. She looks like Janeway uniform looks right, but everything else looks like just generic science fiction show. And I mean, it's beautiful, but it just depends on how you look at the show. If you look at it as just a science fiction adventure cartoon sort of show, well, it's fine. If you look at it as Star Trek, it doesn't really, nothing about it really says Star Trek except for that little speech about what the Federation is. So it's disappointing on that level, but it's fine on another level. Like, it's not like the first season of Lower Decks or Discovery or Picard, which I didn't like. This is fine. It's just, I mean, the idea is, I think they're supposed to learn what Starfleet is, and, you know, that's sort of supposed to introduce it to people, but I'm just tired of everyone having to learn or rebuild. I just want people to actually be in Starfleet, in Star Trek, and actually just enjoying that. So we have them sort of working out how to work the ship. They somehow managed to fly into the gravity of a disintegrating star or imploding star or whatever it was, and they, you know, of course, they don't want to ask Janeway. They try everything. They divert all the power to the thrusters, which doesn't help, and of course lets the bad guys do it out of the brig. I forgot the name of the characters, and I don't think they barely even mention their characters, which could have helped, because it reminded me. But the giant one who looks like the Thing, who's a little girl, she actually asked the bad guys sort of, why didn't you ever help us? You saw them taking us. Basically, we were orphans being stolen, basically. She implies they weren't criminals. The only crime they committed was getting caught. And she doesn't really have an excuse. She basically just says, I was just doing what I was told, blah, blah, blah. And then afterwards, after she's let out of the brig, she actually is sent to go and catch her again. And they actually have a fight, and this is during what was referred to as a vehicle replicator. Basically, when they're trying to lighten the ship, they eject everything, including all the escape pods. So she creates a shuttlecraft, and it's being built, and they manage to fight in the middle of where they're building it, and the Thing gets stuck in it, but eventually breaks out through the glass and does beat her. But eventually, well, she gets put back in the brig, and eventually she goes up to the bridge, and eventually the kid does ask, okay, Janeway, I need your help, and she basically tells him how to get the shields back online, and he has the idea of, instead of fighting the gravity and trying to pull out of it, why don't we just go right through it? So basically what they do, that's what they do, and it's a pretty good sequence. Like I said, the effects are beautiful, the space is beautiful, the planets are beautiful, all those elements work, and the CGI is great. It's just, this is not Star Trek enough. Like, the ship doesn't look anything like Starfleet on the inside. It's just, it looks like just regular sci-fi ship. And when they actually go into the engine room, apparently there's 2 warp cores, which don't really look like warp cores. They look more like the JJ warp cores, which was a real nuclear plant or something. I can't remember. It was a real life fusion something. It was a real technology that they use. It looks a bit like that, although it does have basically cylindrical pipes with light on the inside. But there's a third element on the inside which they don't know what it is, because there is some mystery about what this ship is about. Because Janeway does say that she was there to help guide them home, which implies, or what were they doing out there? How did they get there? Why would they need to be shown how to get home if they got there? So there's something strange about the actual ship. There is still some mystery. We see the bad guy basically getting ready to pursue them. And he launches his ship, which kind of reminded me a little bit of Nero's ship, but not really. Looked a bit more like one of the Borg ships from the end of Voyager. And that's really it. They basically survive. She does say that the Federation in the early days was a bit rough. They had all these different people trying to work together, and the one thing they had in common was they shared the same aspiration, which was to be better, and she said she thought they had potential. And that's about it. We basically just have them sort of coming together, sort of working out how to work the ship and function together. But aside from escaping a problem they walked right into, not a lot happens. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, it was okay. I don't know what else to say, it was okay. I'm not hugely impressed. I mean, visually it's impressive, but and the characters are perfectly likable. But yeah, I'm still not feeling Star Trek with this, even with Janeway there, because the fact that she can't tell that they're not Starfleet and not cadets, like the fact she had to explain to them what the Federation was and what replicators were, and that the Federation doesn't use money and that they were free, where I forgot the name of the character, the alien. I want to say Trog. They're not Trogs. They're not troglodytes. Either way, he peeks out when he finds out it's free. Yeah, it's. I'm not quite sure. It's not really working for me. It's okay, but it's like, I'm going to give it a few more weeks and hope it sorts itself out. But at the moment, visually it's great. As a basic science fiction show, adventure kid show, it's fine. But Star Trek, it's falling a bit short at the moment. But I'm going to leave it there. I don't have much else to say. This episode, of course, was 25 minutes. And yeah, it was beautiful to look at. The characters are nice, but I'm not really sure where it's going. Basically, they're just stumbling through things. There doesn't seem to be any purpose to it all yet. I'm trying to work out what they're actually aiming for and what they're going to achieve with the show. And because every episode should have something that it achieves, some Star Trek like moral lesson or something that you actually gain from it, other than just, if it's just long form storytelling, then it's just another chapter and doesn't really need to do anything, which is probably what they're aiming for. I want more. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Did you like the episode? Do you think it's going somewhere? Do you think they're struggling to work out, the voice of this show and where it's actually going to go? Or is this just, like I said, long-form storytelling? This is just chapter 3, where nothing is really going to happen, because in a lot of these stories, nothing really happens for a long time, just episode to episode, and then it's really just in the last few episodes where they basically pull everything together and have like a conclusion. So I'm not sure. But yeah. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that was good about it? No. I can't think of anything else. I'm going to go. Thanks. Bye.